Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and through you, thank you to the ministers for being here. Ministers Joly and LeBlanc, were you briefed earlier this year, or did you receive memos about interference by Beijing in the 2019 election?
Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Cooper, yes, I have received updates, as have a number of implicated ministers, from our security and intelligence officials as part of the routine responsibilities. So I have participated in some of these discussions. It's not frequent, but certainly it's something that I would be updated on by security and intelligence officials in the government.
As for foreign interference in the 2019 elections, I did not have any information to that regard. I think you've heard the Prime Minister about this, which he has no information to that regard neither, and Jody Thomas, the NSIA, which specifically before all of you stated that we have not seen money going to 11 candidates, period. So that would be my answer to you.
Thank you for that. And for you, Madam Chair, to Minister LeBlanc, you indicated that you have been briefed more than once. Can you elaborate on what you know and what you were briefed about, specifically with respect to interference in the 2019 election by Beijing?
So, Madam Chair, as the Prime Minister indicated in the House of Commons, our ability to discuss publicly the details of those national security briefings is understandably limited. That was true of predecessor governments, including the Conservative government that was in office before us. The briefings, again, the Prime Minister in his answers and question period and in various media interviews that I have seen.
My time is limited, Minister, but I'll put the question this way. Did Beijing interfere in the 2019 and 21 elections? Yes or no?
Madam Chair, I think that both Mélanie Joly and I have said that the Chinese government regularly attempts to interfere in various aspects of Canadian society. Elections would not be excluded from some of their efforts to interfere. The good news is we have a robust security apparatus that follows these threats, that intervenes. And for me, the most reassuring news is that the experts that are empowered to do this work have confirmed that none of these attempts to interfere have constituted in any way something that would have had an adverse effect on the election results and the election outcomes.
Can I add to that? I think that you've heard Jody Thomas about this. You heard the Prime Minister. I think maybe my Deputy Minister, David Morrison, could add to that.
I'll happily add to it. Before I was Deputy Minister, I was acting National Security Advisor all through the most recent election. And I was also acting National Security Advisor in the period after the 2019 election. And what I would say is that there was, as has already been said, there is a kind of baseline level of foreign interference or attempted foreign interference at all times that we need to be vigilant on. But my experience as National Security Advisor in those key periods was that there was no spike in foreign interference that I'm aware of in either the 2019 election or the 2021 election.
In the production that we received from the PCO, there is a report entitled Daily Foreign Intelligence Brief of February 21st, 2020, and it speaks to a subtle but effective interference network in which it says that investigations into activities linked to the Canadian federal election in 2019 reveal an active foreign interference network. Can you speak to that foreign interference network? What that is referencing?
So, Madam Chair, I am not familiar with that specific report, but I certainly take on face value what our colleague has quoted. And I think it just confirms what the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs has just said, that there is, at various times, an active effort, not only from that country, as Melanie Joly just said, there are other actors that are also involved in this space. But our government has taken the necessary steps to protect democratic institutions, and we
So
believe
are you aware of an
that
active
has been
foreign interference
successful.
network in the 2019 election by Beijing?
I think, as I said in my comments,
Tough to believe you wouldn't be.
Point of order.
So this is what's
through
not
you,
fun,
Madam
because
Chair.
all that happens is we end up having points of orders, we take away time, which means there's less time for questions. So wherever there is an action, there is a reaction. So I suggest, as per my opening comments, one person speaks at a time. And Mr. Cooper, as I've demonstrated in the past, if you have a good line of questions, I'll give you a bit of time. But I think you want to ask good questions, make comments, and I think we've invited these ministers to be here because they have insights to share. So we can let him respond. Is that okay? Excellent. The Minister.
So, Madam Chair, through you, as we've said consistently, and the Prime Minister has repeated, we are aware of, I think Mr. Morrison said, a base load of attempts from a number of foreign actors to interfere not only in the electoral context, but in other economic contexts as well. So we're not naive about the threat that this represents. And the good news, Madam Chair, is our government has taken robust and unique steps that didn't exist when previous governments were in office to combat exactly this legitimate concern of Mr. Cooper's that's shared by the government.
Mr. Cooper, final question?
Well, I just note it was specifically an active foreign interference network as it pertains to the CCP.
Well, you've asked me the question regarding any form of information I would have regarding the 2019 election or 2021 election even. And I can confirm you that I have no information regarding this particular issue. And of course, my comment regarding foreign interference in general is that we have a principled approach. We
Thank
don't
you.
tolerate it, period.
Minister LeBlanc, through you, keeps hiding behind national security, even though the advice of CSIS is that when it comes to foreign interference, the policy of the government be grounded in transparency and sunlight in order to expose that interference, and that such interference should be brought to the attention of the public. That is the advice that CSIS has offered the government. We haven't seen anything but transparency in the way of answers to some very straightforward questions here today. But going back to Minister Joly, through you, Madam Chair, saying that she has no information, no knowledge of interference by Beijing in the 2019 or 21 election, we have a foreign intelligence briefing document of February 21st, 2020 that doesn't make an allegation but provides an assessment of an effective interference network with respect to investigations into activities linked to the Canadian federal election in 2019 reveal an active foreign interference network by Beijing. We know in the 21 election, the minister talks about the rapid response mechanism. Analysis from the rapid response mechanism revealed that there was interference by Beijing on social media platforms. So in the face of all of that, how can the minister claim that she doesn't know, but she has no knowledge? It's simply not credible.
So, I think, Michael, there's something that should be made clear to all of us. We have a shared interest in tackling foreign interference. No single person nor party benefits from any form of foreign interference. Because obviously, we want to make sure that our democracy works, that the will of the Canadian people is respected in every form of democratic process. Now, when it comes to foreign interference, we have national security agencies that can investigate, and afterwards, as a country, based on the rule of law, that there can be prosecution. And our job is to make sure that that work is being done, and that's why I will do so, working with the Minister of Public Safety, to make sure also that he has the right resources, that the RCMP can do anything linked to any form of foreign actors trying to influence negatively our democratic process. And at the end of the day, when it comes to disinformation online, I think this is something that I would like to be working with all of you, because this is a very important issue that all democracies in the world need to tackle. Thank you.
Mr. Cooper, quickly.
Try one more question, see if we can get an answer to a question. CSIS documents reveal that politicians and riding associations were targeted by foreign interference. What are the names of those politicians and riding associations?
Madam Chair, this question's been answered on multiple occasions. Just because Mr. Cooper wants to participate in some theatrics that are not responsible for Canadian democracy doesn't mean he's going to get an answer that doesn't exist.